Princess Crew, Combat Princess here, back with a whole new video. If you're new, welcome. Before you get into anything, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you end up liking the video, turn on post notifications. So for those of you that are new or don't know, this is a latest Princess cut, and we're going to be doing something different today. I have a special guest on my channel, MK Temple.
Thanks, Princess. And what's up, Princess Crew? MK Temple here, and I'm super thankful to be featured on this episode of Princess Cut, where we cut into a Mortal Kombat character. Today, we'll be talking about the OG secret character, Reptile.
The Princess Crew voted on him, so we will be getting into Reptile, aka Turtle, and all of that.
So, Reptile first came out in Mortal Kombat 1, and he was kind of just hanging out, hiding in the shadows as Shang Tsung's protector and bodyguard. We don't really have much lore. We don't even really know if he fought in Mortal Kombat 1, but he was there, and in the game, he was there as a secret character.
So not really much to go off of for his first game. You know, no like other appearances or anything like that. Just one of those hiding characters.
Just hiding, hanging out at the bottom of the pit. There were some secrets that would flash across the screen for the arcade. You would have to then figure out how to fight Reptile. I believe you had to wait for for a silhouette to pass the moon. You had to use only kicks and then use your finisher at the top of the pit. You would be rewarded with a fight against Reptile, and he was very, very hard to defeat.
So basically, he was just like, you know, one of those like hidden boss characters. They didn't really do a bunch for him in his debut, basically.
Exactly.
Okay. So now we can move on to Mortal Kombat 2.
In Mortal Kombat 2, again, we don't have that much lore, but he did become a playable character. We learn a little bit more about Reptile, but his lore still isn't very vast yet. We know that he is working for Shao Kahn on special missions. We don't really know what those special missions are, but Shao Kahn basically has Reptile working for him.
That's something that he always does. Like, You can't tell me that. Like, he just sends people like on these like little stories and little like things to do, whether they're gonna flop or whether they succeed. It's just always they were sent by Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn sent them. They did this. It's just so funny to me. I'm just gonna call him like the king of invasions at this point.
So Shao Kahn actually was holding something over Reptile's head. He's had the promise of releasing Reptile's race, or the remainders of his Zetaran race from slavery, if he would do his bidding. Later on in the story, we find out that Shao Kahn was lying and that Reptile was the last of his kind.
So you just did all that work, Turtle. Did all of this, you know, slaved over everything that you needed to slave over, you know, and you did not even get the promise that you were made. So that was really, really shysty on Zaddy Shao's part. But, you know, to be honest, you were the perfect victim because, you know, you were the last person left. So I'm not really surprised.
And are we surprised? Shao Kahn kind of does this with everyone, so.
Yeah, but some people are successful and some people flop.
That's
and,
true.
You know, this was a flop.
But before Reptile found out that Shao Kahn was using him and was lying to him, we have his story from Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 or Mortal Kombat Trilogy, where Shao Kahn sent Reptile and Jade out to find and kill Kitana if necessary, since Kitana had betrayed Outworld and joined the Earthrealm Warrior. While out on this mission, Jade had a change of heart, decided to side with her longtime friend Kitana, as opposed to siding with Shao Kahn and Reptile, and attacked Reptile so that Kitana could escape.
Props to Jade. And if you're not clapping, you should be clapping, because props to Jade for being loyal and, you know, not going with what Zaddy Shao originally sent her to do, which was capture Kit Kat.
Yeah, without Jade, who knows what would have happened to Kitana. I'm sure that Kitana would have had no problem defeating Reptile because he does nothing but lose throughout the entire series, so.
Okay, so moving on. Are we moving on to MK4?
Yeah, we can move on to MK4. So once the invasion was over, Reptile was actually brought to Edenia to be tried for his war crimes. We find that he actually had committed genocide. So Reptile is someone who was tried and accused of committing genocide for unknown races that were not named. Because of this, they then banish him to the Netherrealm, which might just be a nice word for killing him, because a lot of times when you go to the Netherrealm once you die, He was exiled to the Netherrealm, where he then met the fallen elder god Shinnok and joined his ranks. And Shinnok used Reptile, and Reptile became a commander in Shinnok's army of darkness and helped with the invasion on Edenia that happened during MK4.
Because he was used by Shinnok.
Yes, so Reptile sided with Shinnok in MK4 when Shinnok escaped the Netherrealm to invade Edenia and the heavens.
Which, again, was no surprise, Shinnok was they put him in the Netherrealm, and that's how he ended up meeting Quan Chi, because, Quan Chi was like the Netherrealm's protector, which, no, who cares?
Yeah, well, Shinnok got banished to the Netherrealm, and then you're correct, that's how he met Quan Chi.
MK Deadly Alliance, and this is the game where Shai Shang and Rich Homie Quan Chi decided to form an alliance and basically mark out on their own things and basically rebel against original rules.
Yes, Deadly Alliance, one of my favorite games for lore in Mortal Kombat.
Of course, it has to be one of the favorites for lore. I mean, especially when you have this big plot.
Yeah, and I think Reptile, actually, this is probably his most relevant storyline too. After Shinnok loses in MK4, Reptile remained alive in Outworld and sought out his old masters. So he went to go find Shao Kahn, who was still alive but was like losing a war against Edenia. And he pledged his life again to Shao Kahn. So you see,
you didn't learn the first time?
Yeah, Reptile needs a master. Like, he just needs someone, he's kind of like a cuck.
Not Reptile needs a master. That could mean so many things. Like, you didn't learn the first time that, Zaddy Shao is very untrustworthy. So, I mean, it's just stupid. I hate when I, read over somebody's lore and they're not learning from their mistakes. So...
And if any game points that out, it's Deadly Alliance, because at the beginning of the game we see Reptile and he's serving his old master Shao Kahn. The Deadly Alliance then go and kill Shao Kahn, even though it was a decoy, but that's neither here nor there. Kill Shao Kahn. Reptile comes back, finds Shao Kahn's dead body, and has no idea what to do with himself because he has no master
right. Now. It's so funny that you just mentioned this, because we just did a princess cut on Nini, and this is where Nini was able to manipulate you.
Yep.
Because you didn't have anyone to go to. Period. She needed him to attack Cyrax because he was the one that was going to be able to help her go over in that lava, because he had that robotic body that was able to touch it. So she really ate that up on Temple, in my opinion. She knew the mission, she knew what she needed to do, and she was able to manipulate both of them.
So Reptile goes and finds Natara, this nice vampire that gave him this Kirihashi blade, a blade of his people, and decides to make her his new master. Natara has a full plan in play, knowing that she needs to get home and she needs someone to help her get home. So she manipulates Reptile into fighting Cyrax, knowing that Cyrax will probably win, but his technology to get back home is going to be damaged. Once Cyrax wins, Reptile kind of scurries away. Natara then reveals herself to Cyrax and tells Cyrax that she'll help him get home, but she needs Cyrax to help her first. So Cyrax and Natara then go off to into the lava shrine where the last known dragon egg is found. Reptile sees them conspiring with each other and realizes that he's been duped. So he follows them, waiting for the right moment to attack both of them. But he was too late, because by the time he got to the lava shrine, Natara had sent Cyrax down into the lava in order to get this orb that basically bound her realm of Viternus with the realm of Outworld. And once she shattered the orb, she was able to go back home. She repaid Cyrax by opening a portal and sending him back home. Reptile shows up in the lava shrine, just sees nothing but the shattered orb on the ground, is looking for them. And at that time, the incubated egg, dragon egg that's in the lava shrine, cracks open, and a beam of light comes bursting through, hits Reptile, and then transforms Reptile into Onaga the Dragon King.
I didn't really realize that was kind of like the rebirth of Onaga. That's kind of like how he came about.
Yep. So Onaga is only made possible in the original Mortal Kombat through Reptile, because he's using Reptile's body as a vessel, which is why the character of Reptile did not appear in Mortal Kombat Deception. So you might notice that Reptile, throughout the original timeline, kind of starts off as a human or humanoid, and then kind of devolves into this like more lizard-like creature by the time we get to Deadly Alliance and Armageddon. And the reason for that being is that when Reptile is separated long enough from his race, or at least in the original timeline, when they go long periods of time without their leader, they start to devolve into more of their like primitive lizard ish type of people.
So basically he had a Fiona curse with his master. That's what it's giving.
Yep. And since it's been so long and he's the last of his kind, although he's technically not, Chameleon is also out there, and Chameleon knows of Reptile and is always kind of trying to find him so that they can be together and kind of like help kickstart their race.
LED light bulb, stop. Just sit down and just stop, because it's not going to happen. He's clearly been trying to avoid you through all of these lore stories and stuff like that, and you didn't really have to put her on blast.
I think he might just be clueless of her existence, to be perfectly honest.
You flash 3 different colors and he still can't see you. That's really sad. That is very sad.
I think mainly that's the explanation for why he turns into a lizard as the games go on. So now that we know he's Onaga, or Onaga is working through him, Mortal Kombat Deception happens, and Onaga tries to get all the Kamidogu so that he can combine all the realms and bring back the one being. But he's stopped. We're not going to get into this because this is its whole story on its own, but he is stopped by Shujinko,
aka Flop Jinko.
Once Flop Jinko defeats him, we also have, at the same time, Nightwolf had descended into the depths of the Netherrealm to perform a ceremony that would trap Onaga's soul into the Netherrealm once he is killed, so that he cannot be rebirthed again. So Shujinko defeats him. Nightwolf sets up this trap that traps Onaga's soul, and then Onaga's body twists and contorts back into Reptile. And actually, if you take a look at, I believe it's Sindel's ending in Deception, you can see Reptile's body in the background, even though it's a non-canon ending. She defeats Onaga, and you can see Reptile's body just kind of like hanging out in the background on the ground. So after Onaga was defeated, he changes back into Reptile, and Reptile is kind of unharmed.
All right, moving on to MK Armageddon.
Now, after becoming the Dragon King and then turning back into Reptile, we don't really know what happens to him, where he goes, if he just kind of is on a voyage to find himself without a master. We don't really know. Taven does come in contact with him in Mortal Kombat Armageddon during the Conquest mode. Taven meets him in the lair of the Red Dragon clan. The Red Dragon are trying to turn people into actual Red Dragons, and it's possible that they use Reptile's DNA to help in achieving this. Taven defeats him, and then we don't really see anything or know anything that he really does in Mortal Kombat Armageddon until the fight at the pyramid, where he is killed during the battle.
And as you guys know, as I say, got put down at the bottom with the rest of the roaches at the bottom of the temple.
That's true.
Moving on to Mortal Kombat 9, which is one of my favorites, in my opinion, and one of the best, in my opinion.
I might get some hate in the comments, but Mortal Kombat 9 might be my least favorite of the new era of Mortal Kombat.
Bombastic side eye. Criminal offensive side eye.
So MK9 Reptile, we see the whole timeline get restarted, and Reptile is just kind of a jobber. He's just kind of hanging out, getting beat. I don't think he wins a single fight. He attends the tournament for like the remake of Mortal Kombat 1, immediately gets his ass handed to him by Johnny Cage. We see him in the Living Forest in the MK2 era of Mortal Kombat 9, and he gets defeated by Smoke. Later in the Mortal Kombat 3 era, and gets beat by Stryker, although he does blind Cabal with an acid spit. But that's really the only thing that he does in Mortal Kombat 9.
And gameplay-wise, I liked him in 9, so it's really sad that, they didn't do a bunch with his story in 9. Kind of was a background character, let's be very clear. That's what it was giving.
Yeah, he was only there to get beat up. That's really all they used him for.
All right, so y'all know I really don't care about, MK X comments. Some of y'all know I really don't care for it. But, MK Temple thought that it was very, very, very essential to put this in the video.
So after Mortal Kombat 9, Shao Kahn is really disappointed with Reptile because he basically just got his ass beat all throughout Mortal Kombat 9. Didn't live up to the reputation. So Shao Kahn orders Reptile to be assassinated. Reptile has an idea that he might be on Shao Kahn's hit list. So he's sleeping with one eye open. He notices that someone does come into his room one night to kill him. But instead of going through with it, they just leave. That person was Kotal Kahn. So Shao Kahn had told Kotal, who was a general in Shao Kahn's army at the time, to go in and assassinate Reptile. But Kotal Kahn convinced Shao Kahn to keep Reptile and that Reptile could serve underneath him. Kotal did this because he saw potential in Reptile as a spy rather than as a fighter. And Kotal even said to Reptile that you are a much better spy than you are a fighter. This gained Reptile's loyalty for Kotal, and that's why we see Reptile at the side of Kotal Kahn throughout Mortal Kombat X. If anyone on the Princess crew is interested in learning more about the Mortal Kombat X comics, then check out my video, The Reiko Accords, on my channel.
Moving on to Mortal Kombat X. This is one of the best Reptiles in the franchise, in my opinion, gameplay wise. The slow ball, enhanced stuff. It was giving what needs to be gave, and he was a really good pressure character. So this was gameplay wise in MKX. I feel like this was a good Reptile.
I agree. I think that Reptile gameplay played awesome. They gave him a lot of his classic moves, and they gave him a lot of cool new moves too. But unfortunately for his story, he just kind of goes back to being a jobber and just kind of gets beaten up throughout the entirety of the Mortal Kombat X storyline. So in Mortal Kombat X, Reptile had assisted Kotal, Devora, and Ermac to overthrow...
I just had to say AKA Roach, because she will be called... She will, on this channel, she will be called Roach. On this channel, I don't know about anybody else, but Roach.
Reptile assisted Kotal, also known as Kotal Slaw, Devora, also known as Roach, and Ermac, also known as Ermac Book on this channel, to overthrow Melina, aka Lili, and put Mr. Slaw in power, sparking one of my favorite Mortal Kombat side plots, the Outworld Civil War. Although there's a lot of different story that happens around the Outworld Civil War and Kotal Slaw and around the Combat Kids and everything that's going on with them going into Outworld, there's not really a lot that Reptile does in Mortal Kombat X outside of just kind of be a henchman for Kotal or just kind of be a side character. As I said before, he just kind of gets beaten up the whole game, and that's really it. He doesn't really provide that much to the greater story of Mortal Kombat X.
I just want to let y'all know that I'm already not feeling it. It's not giving what needs to be gave. It's another character that has so much potential, but they're giving them background stuff and putting them on the sidelines in the game, and also putting them on the sideline in the game lore. So no.
Yeah, Reptile really needed his own story chapter here, and unfortunately he did not get it. Now, at the end of Mortal Kombat X, Kotal and his whole team are attacked by the Lin Kuei, who are siding with the Combat Kids. Reptile is on the receiving end of this attack with the rest of Kotal's team, and then he kind of just escapes back to Outworld, and that's all we really hear from him. And then I guess during Mortal Kombat 11, he just kind of is in hiding, hanging out in Outworld. We don't really know what happens to him.
But I will like to add that they thought that they were cute, putting him into the crypt, hanging down from stuff, because wasn't he included like one of those chains, one of the chains that were hanging or something like that?
He was, and also Movie Reptile was a statue in the crypt as well.
Okay, so moving on to MK1, where they finally decided to give Turtle a chapter.
Yes, welcome to the new era.
For the MK1 story, I was really, really here for everything. It was giving what needed to be gave, in my opinion. They finally gave him a story. They gave him, connection to Shang Tsung, even though he was being manipulated by Zaddy Shao in the earlier franchises. He ended up getting manipulated by Shai-Chi Shang. But then again, who doesn't get manipulated by Shai-Chi Shang? I mean, like, he was manipulating everybody at the same time. So, in my opinion, but I really like that they gave him a chapter. The chapter 8, him going against, he beat up Tanya, he went against Kit, and then he ended up liking Astra, aka the Nun. So I like that their little romance, which I said in her Princess Cut, I like that their connection, just far as character development, I really feel like they did Reptile justice in MK1, giving him the transformation, able to see him as human and also as vegetarian.
Yeah, I think Reptile finally gets his real name, Sizoth, in this game, and it's the first time that we see him as a good guy. So kind of just piggybacking off of what you had mentioned, I think it's a very interesting, different Reptile that we're seeing, a different side to him, and we actually kind of feel empathetic towards him and his people, as we see that he's only really working for Shang Tsung because he believes that Shang Tsung has his family and is holding them captive, and later we find out that Shang Tsung really just killed his family, and then Reptile makes his full transition over to the good guy side and helps them in their quest to bring down Shang Tsung and Quan Chi.
So I'm concluding it, and I'm going to end it around saying that Reptile, he has a lot of potential, but it gives me Smoke 2.0 vibes, a character that had so much potential, but they were like used and put into the background, and they could have done so much more of. But I'm glad that they gave him a chapter in this game, because he's like a character like Lily. They played around with her and they played around with him, and then they finally wanted to give them justice. He was a character that was handed justice, in my opinion, in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, as I said before, he's more just a jobber in the old games. Well, more so in the second timeline. He does have some story, especially with the 3D era in the original timeline, but I think he does find justice in the new era, as they make him more of a good guy, make him more empathetic, and call him by his real name. I think that I'm interested to see where they go with him in the next game.
Alright, y'all, that is all for today's Princess Cut. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to check out MK Temple's channel, the OG lore storyteller, like the person who paid wave for people like me to even come on here and tell my own lore videos, you should go check out his channel.
Thank you so much, Princess, and thank you, Princess Crew, for having me. It's been a pleasure being here.